Mandy and Melyssa Ford exchange shots online. On Twitter, Mandy and Melyssa Ford have been going at each other, with the first shot being taken by Melyssa Ford when she tweeted out a picture of a pig. And also, Joe Budden would go on his podcast and diss Mandy.
Sorry, Mandy. Your views ain't gonna be like ours. You're not gonna be able to win a Gracie.
Now, Mandy would respond and say, I'll be the bigger person in size, since that's the shade being thrown my way. Hope the checkbook keeps writing those checks for the Ozempic shots to stay slim. Now, that is a reference to Melyssa Ford on the podcast when she said that she was using Ozempic and possibly selling it. And then Mandy would follow up by also saying, yet when I post anything, it's unprovoked. This is in jest, but y'all don't want me to throw real shots. Now, she's saying that on the internet, it's often presented as if Joe Budden is being targeted by Mandy, as if she's the one chasing clout. But the truth is, Joe likes to take his own shots. That is something people forget. A lot of times people respond to Joe, it's because he's throwing little subliminal shots. Often the fan base of Joe, which is huge, they ratio you. They start to say, oh, why are you trying to chase clout? Well, no, you're actually taking shots at somebody. And Mandy would also say, me and Joe don't even have real beef. That's the funny part. Joe is using Mel to have the tit and tat with me because she sucks as a podcaster. Me and Drake are the only people giving Mel relevance beside her 7th mic position on the JBP. Now, I do think Mandy's actually right here. Joe and Mandy really don't have any issues. I mean, if you look at the podcast and you just listen to it, there was a moment a couple months back when Joe was talking about how he was at some type of party with Mandy and Ish, and Mandy and Joe were talking about how, they were around some girls, and Mandy screamed at Joe, yo, you better pay the bill, Joe. You better don't even come to me with. So it's not really that crazy. It's not really that bad. And Mandy's completely right here. Joe is using Mel to have the back and forth, but also using the Mandy smoke to help Melyssa Ford be a better podcaster. Melyssa Ford is capable of being super quiet for long stints of time on the podcast. It was such a problem that Joe would eventually call her out and threaten to suspend her. So Joe uses these tactics to motivate Melyssa. Oh, Mandy's shooting at you. Can you believe Mandy's talking all of that stuff? Come on, Melyssa Ford, get hype. It helps the podcast because Melyssa Ford has a low level of energy due to the fact that she likes to approach it with a news type, Barbara Walters approach, which is not the best on the show. And this is as a result, I think, of the initial shot taken by Mandy when she said, it's nice of Ian to redirect to her little podcast. Now, she's talking about the Melyssa Ford Drake hoodie. Many were wondering who was responsible for that when Drake would release some merch and Melyssa Ford was on it. People noticed there was a website, and the website linked back to Joe's Patreon, and then it would later link to the Hot and Bothered podcast. And people thought Drake did it as a shot to Joe Budden, but it didn't make sense. Why would Drake ever help promote Joe's business? But then later it was revealed that Ian Schwartzman bought the domain and linked it back to both Joe Budden and Melyssa Ford. Now, we have to be honest, the reference of Mandy calling Melyssa Ford's podcast little, that's a shot. And I do often wonder, does Mandy know her podcast isn't the biggest? Like, if you look at the Selective Ignorance page, which is her new podcast, it's not doing too good, at least visible statistic-wise. Some of those things ain't cracking 3,000 views. I mean, it's tough out here. She did a video about Caitlin Clark, and it hasn't cracked 1,000 views in 2 days. And then she's also she hasn't done 5,000 views. I think Joe Budden sees blood in the water, and there's a case to be made. Why did Mandy launch Selective Ignorance? Is everything okay with her other business ventures? Something we might need to keep an eye on. I don't have any evidence, but I'm just wondering. Horrible Decisions is the cash cow, but she launched this. Don't assume everything's okay over there. That's all I'm saying. But let me know what you think about this back and forth between Mandy and Melyssa Ford. I do think it is interesting the position that Mandy has within the Joe Budden podcast. Many people try to shoot her down as some hater, but if you really look and analyze, she's close with everybody on the show with the exception of Joe Budden and Melyssa Ford. Ish talks well about her all the time. He doesn't like talking negatively whenever the cast tries to kick her back in.
You speak to Mandy. Let me land. No, I don't. I
just saw you speak to Mandy 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Ice be hanging out with Mandy. And Imani, like I said, when I interviewed him, he called Mandy on FaceTime. So clearly, you can see that all of these folks, they might be playing a WWE game with us. I even think Joe and Mandy might be like messaging each other, might be on DMs like, hey, haha. The only reason Mandy and Joe really fell out is because of the See the Thing Is litigation. Remember when See the Thing Is was on the Joe Budden network and they had thought they had came to some type of great business deal. Turns out that they wouldn't be able to survive the whole Olivia Dope scandal. And on top of that, Joe and Mandy could not agree on ways to monetize the podcast, which caused a lot of issues. And it led to Mandy taking the See the Thing Is IP with her. But we would all find out that maybe Joe Budden wasn't the issue, as Bridget Kelly and Mandy would be at odds. And where is Bridget Kelly, by the way? Everything is fine. That was the podcast she used to do with Blue when she broke up with Mandy, and it's only on Patreon. I don't know. I really don't know how these people are making money. Like, I know Mandy got her studio, but I'm talking about just the podcast. How are you making money from a podcast no one listens to? You got 800 views on YouTube, and I'm not trying to buy, because Mandy will get up there and she'll tell you, oh, but my audio numbers is where it's at. I understand that for Horrible Decisions. I'm not questioning that. But Selective Ignorance? How many people is really listening to that? The YouTube, it's not that the YouTube is the only thing that matters. The YouTube is an index for the visibility because it's the only public number that exists. If your YouTube isn't doing well, it's highly unlikely that your audio numbers are killing it. And hey, if you want to trick the system, podcasters out there, only drop on podcast apps. Because then you can say, I'm killing it, because the audio numbers aren't as readily available as the YouTube numbers. Just gives you a trick that people are doing in order to hide their fledgling podcast. Damn, I'm going on a rant. But I mean, look at Mandy's Yo, Mandy has producers, mad guests. How is she making money? She don't got no sponsors on that show. I'm talking about Selective Ignorance only. How is that a profitable venture? Why does it exist? It has to exist for some other reason than to make money. Do the science. What do you think is going on? I'm trying to tell you something. Do the science. I might reveal what I mean later. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon, The Stop. I just did a video yesterday. I thought it was really good. It was about the Joe Budden TV cult. I'm breaking down different members of it on the Patreon, but there's also more coming. I got a great piece of content coming next week. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.